Good morning, North America. Welcome to Church Talk Light, the VCast version of Church Talk and all things church transformation. I'm your host, Dr. Bill Tenney Britton, and I'm joined, as usual, by my co-host, Dr. Chris Tenney Britton, in our studio in Columbia, Missouri. Say good morning, Chris.
Well, good morning, and welcome to this week's edition of Church Talk Light.
Bill and Chris Tenney Britton with you here. This week we're talking about one of our favorite topics and one of the least favorite topics that we talk about overall, and that is evangelism. And today we're talking about the 10 A's of an evangelistic congregation.
This is so important because we've known of so many churches. In fact, we've been in a couple of those churches where you are doing evangelism, but people aren't being well received at the church. There are pieces, the church just is not conducive to receiving the fruits of evangelistic efforts. And so we've come up with these 10 A's and an effort to make sure that congregations are places of evangelism.
And let's begin by saying that a church that is really good at doing evangelism is a church that really excels in hospitality. And we have lots of pieces on our Church Talk and Flip My Church that can help you on that. But hospitality is a key. And some of these include some of that hospitality.
I was just going to say, you just jumped right into our first A. So the first A of evangelism or an evangelistic congregation is attractive.
Attractive means curb appeal. It's what your church looks like from the outside, and staging what it looks like inside when you talk about flipping a church or flipping a house. It looks great, and it just calls and invites people in.
But it's also got the hospitality aspect, because the people feel like they're welcomed. It invites them in, and then they feel welcome. There are friendly faces that are there to greet them. Well, the second then is attraction.
And attraction is more than just having a worship service, which is great. We're glad you're having worship services, but the opportunity to invite people who are outside the church into something besides a Sunday morning or Saturday evening worship service, inviting them to Christmas Eve services or whatever else, concerts, etc., things that they can connect with without coming to church.
Our third A is alleviation.
Today, people know they're broken. Once upon a time, the whole world, the church, and in the whole nation, it wasn't okay to be broken. You always had a smiling face and you stiff upper lip. But today, people know they're broken, and the church needs to be ready to work with people to help alleviate their hurts.
Okay, there's also then acceptance, because people are coming with those hurts.
And, acceptance means welcoming, even if they look different than you. It's welcoming even though they're not really or not yet a Christian and don't act like one yet. We can't expect people who are outside the faith to act like Christians. And so it's a matter of accepting, welcoming, walking with people.
Well, and so with that, that also helps. The fifth A is alliances.
Alliances is, alliances often has this, we're getting one side or the other. We're talking about connecting people together, helping people build alliances in relationships, relationship, so that you can have spiritual conversations with these folks. Okay, what else you got here?
Yes, well, how about activation? Do you remember activation?
Well, why don't you tell us what activation is?
Well, activation is that we all have spiritual gifts, and we come and we bring our brokenness, and we bring those gifts with us and our passions. Evangelistic congregations are helping people to discover their gifts, their passions, and then giving opportunities for them to activate them, to put them into practice in ministry and in mission.
Because we all want to feel like we're making a difference in our world.
Okay, another A is audacious awe. It's a double A, an audacious awe.
It's those congregations that they understand and expect and bask in the awe of the presence of God, because they know God is showing up. God is showing up. They're seeing lives change, and they're just, wow. And when you have a congregation, a worship service that's like that, it's contagious, and your guests feel it. And that's what they're looking for, is a touch from the Holy.
Yeah, when you leave there, you know that you've been touched.
That God's been there. That's right.
Oh, yeah. Well, similar to that then is asking. That's really that prayer piece.
Asking God to show up. asking God to provide opportunities so that you can share and have conversations, spiritual conversations, and conversations to invite people, asking God to open your eyes to those opportunities, asking God to open the opportunities for your 5 most wanted, which we talk about, asking God to send workers into the harvest field, Luke 10:2b. Ask, ask, ask with anticipation.
Well, it's asking God to show you whose hearts he's been preparing and are ready for the harvest.
That's right.
You know, asking God to show you who they are and to give you favor when you go to extend the invitations to them. So there's asking. And then this, I think this is my favorite one, anticipatory expectation.
So tell us about it.
Well, anticipatory expectation is what comes with that asking. Anticipatory expectation isn't merely hope. It is anticipating and expecting God to move. We know that God is going to move, and it's not just we're hoping God's going to move, we're expecting him to move, and we're anticipating what he's going to do.
And we know that's going to happen because we've seen it happen before, that in our congregation we've seen those lives change, we talk about those lives change, and that's how we know it's happening.
Yes, yes. And our final A is auditing.
Auditing, evaluating, saying this works and this doesn't work, and actually measuring our results. Folks, if churches don't get busy saying this is working, this is not, and putting a stop to that which isn't working, we'll continue to dilute our energies and not focus our resources on that which is working. No business model can sustain that, and the church can't either. We have to audit, and we have to be ruthless, unfortunately, about it. What's working evangelistically and discipling. We want people to become disciples, including our long-term members. We want them to become better disciples, but is it working, or is it just a program that we're spending time in? Folks, we're out of time.
You can catch the longer version of this episode, The 10 A's of Evangelism, at church-talk.com. That's churchtalk.com. It is a great episode for your evangelism committee and your congregational leaders. You'll find not only the outline with the video, but also questions for your discussions.
See you next week.
Have a great one.